Good afternoon, Scott Baker. This one's going to hit me right in the eyes, right between the eyes. I mean, I'm going to get nailed on this one.
About having an opinion? The that you think you don't?
No, the fact that I always will offer an opinion, even if it's not a very good one, right?
I don't know. I don't perceive you that way. I think you have ideas, but I don't ever think that you have like here, I know what we need to do all the time. Okay. Welcome to Lead Better. Today we're talking about field note number 1582. The title is I Don't Know Enough to Have an Opinion. I have an opinion, and my opinion is that Mikey does not come across as dictatorial in his opinions.
Well,
I firmly believe that, everyone.
Well, I've worked with some high-profile professional athletes
Mm-hmm.
who were notably recluse, and it might be because of this, right? Somewhere over the last 15 years, it became normal to ask athletes about everything, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, why is it that Steph Curry needs to have an opinion about, Gaza and Palestine, right? Why does he need to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the athletes that I have worked with became more and more recluse because they probably didn't have this ready to go in the way that it's kind of spelled out here in the field note.
Yeah.
And trying to find a creative way to say, I'm not smart enough to know what I should think about that, right? It's something apparently that if you're in the public eye, you should have opinions on everything, right?
Yeah. I think I'm for more of this. Like today in the Wall Street Journal on the front page was an article about people who wear cologne or perfume that smells like donuts. And okay. I personally want Bad Bunny to have a strong opinion. Either way, I want to hear more, very intense, it's like CNN panels around some of these things, featuring more celebrities in areas that are totally not, in their sort of area of expertise. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, now we're being a little ridiculous, but the point is that you even as you were saying, you usually have thoughts. I usually have thoughts. It doesn't mean, and sometimes they are, what's the old phrase? Strong opinions loosely held.
Yeah.
Which is more tolerable, right?
Yes.
But the question is, we all know the leader who, no matter what it is, they're going to have a very definite opinion, and it's the right one, and they are going to let you know it.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of power that comes in doing the opposite.
Yep. That's it. That's what this field note's all about.
Yeah. So intentionally saying, I don't know, or intentionally saying and the way that this is phrased is great. I don't know enough about that to have an opinion. Like I just don't. That kind of thing needs to be normalized, not just for the sake of society, but also personally to increase your credibility. Right? There's so much power in being able to say, I don't know in that kind of way.
Yeah. Okay. There was a little, can I critique your style here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm a wide open book.
Yeah. Cause I have some feelings about how you express that. And I'm not playing some game here around the opinion. When you said, I don't know enough about that, right? And I actually do appreciate that, but I think that there's an issue here in a couple of directions around the power of a leader saying, I don't have an opinion on that. I think if a leader says, if there's a problem or conundrum and the leader's like, I don't have an opinion about that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the tone that makes me go, I like this guy. He's a straight shooter, right?
Yes.
That's different than saying, this is a really tricky area. I don't have a firm opinion about this. What is your sense of it? Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's something stated with a degree of confidence, because we do like leaders who are confident. There's a clarity to them rather than a searching quality. And I'll give you, in a minute, I'll give you like a risky current scenario involving a very high profile leader and how I saw it play out and what I think was happening there. So what we know is that whether you're expressing a degree of uncertainty or even in the research, because even if we cede the point, if a leader says, I don't know enough to have an opinion about this, that can be incredibly powerful to the people that are listening, that hear that message in terms of that leader's own sort of role and authority, because they're like, this, I can count on him more or her more when she says that they do know, because they're very clear when they don't know.
Yes.
But what we also know in the research is that if that leader is seen as saying, all right, well, everybody, I'm not sure I have an opinion about this. Mikey, what do you think? It's kind of clear that I kind of probably do have an opinion about this, and I'm being disingenuous in how I'm seeking out, and I'm play acting this thing to be like, aren't you all going to love me more just because I've said that I don't know enough to have an opinion? Right. So the point in this is it actually has to be authentic. You actually have to have this sense of yourself and be smart enough and self-aware enough to say, I don't think I know enough to have an opinion, so let's really talk about it.
Yes. So what comes to mind then is back to these professional athletes that we were talking about who get asked their opinion on everything, right? Mm-hmm. If all it becomes is a clever way to say no comment, it's going to wear people down, right? Mm-hmm. So in that situation, an athlete might actually be saying, I actually think that the question is unfair for you to ask me, like to actually bring more truth to it, for you to kind of surprise me in this moment where I thought we were going to be talking about the game, and now you're asking me about politics or some divisive issue. It's a completely unfair question, not because I don't have thoughts about it, but it's just not what we're doing here today.
Yeah. Like, now, by the way, does that play as well if I go to a politician and I say, no, Senator?
Excellent point, because a politician couldn't get away with that. But
right. If I said, Senator, your opinion on the new rule about the balls that kickers use in the NFL that has led to greater field goal length, is this a travesty, or is it a proper use of the equipment in a way that is more advantageous for the kickers and punters?
Yes, which is why when certain people do spout off about stuff as trivial as NFL rules, you're like rolling your eyes.
Trivial?
Really? Yes.
Trivial?
Completely trivial. So here's the thing then. What is the right deployment of it, right? The right moment to be able to say this is what? Are you really trying to hedge something when you say it? Because we've heard, Randall, for instance, when you do your Q&As, sometimes you will be bringing up a question that has been written in through the chat.
Often, right.
And Randall will oftentimes say, I don't think I've got a good answer on this.
Yes, right.
And he'll continue talking, and it's like a really insightful, wisdom-filled answer, right?
Yeah.
But he is hedging the idea that, I haven't done research about this. I really I don't know what admired leaders would do, because I haven't really thought about this question, but I do know this, right? And so he'll always supply that. So is he tapping into the same thing when he gives that kind of an answer? I think there is a little bit of that, although my view, as the one being in that situation for the last 3 or 4 years that we've done those monthly, those are Q&As for our sort of platform playbook subscribers. Right. We are, by the way, if people happen to be watching this live in the Substack app or on social media platforms, we're going to be doing a monthly Q&A that is wide open for everybody I just forgot. We have to celebrate. We are now up to 183 countries where we have subscribers to Field Notes. Welcome, Madagascar. Welcome.
There we go. Yes, welcome, Madagascar.
And whoever convinced the one subscriber to Madagascar to join us, thank you as well. So,
and I am not going to sing the song from Madagascar. I want to move it.
You can't hardly even say it without feeling like you're singing it.
Correct. Yes. But we're still going for Greenland. Now, the point being that as the person in that thing, we are going to do these Q&As, but we do them. And Randall does say exactly like you said. If I read this question, and he'll say, I don't know that I have a good answer on that. Now, I don't think he's actually being disingenuous. Some leaders would be like, I don't think I have a good answer on that. But then they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
I know that in his mind, there's a criteria of what he considers to be a really good answer.
Yes.
Now, the advantage to all of us is even what he considers to be a mediocre answer is pretty good, right? Oh, here's a guy that for 40 years has coached thousands of the top leaders in the world. He has seen many, many scenarios. There's a lot in the notebooks, right? So we're going to get a good answer. And you sort of appreciate the fact that he's saying, a lot of the times I'm giving you really cream of the crop insights that I have like proof tested, and I know that this is really very unique. Yes. So he might be saying, I'm just going to underline some things that I think are best practices. And then you go, okay, you've actually articulated those in a way that was really helpful to me. Great. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we have here is like, and why I said, I think I'm getting hit right between the eyes on this one, is because I'm an expert when it comes to being my kid's dad. Right. And so when my kids have questions, dad is going to show up with an answer. And that is the moment, that is the scenario where I feel like I could gain a lot of credibility as a dad to every once in a while intentionally be like, I don't know, instead of, intentionally needing to have an opinion every single time.
Sure. Well, and a lot of us or even if you don't have older kids, and my oldest ones are older than your oldest ones, you do you realize that like after they're like 16, 17, you've done 90% of your work. You might be, my father's passed away, but I still talk to my mother probably every other day. And I used to call my dad all the time. And I don't think that my parents ever gave me advice or insight that I didn't really take seriously. And that was all the time. So you would like to have kids that like take your opinion seriously and that you have a good relationship. But your role is no longer going to be like, all right, well, let's talk to my 27-year-old and tell her where she's really off base, right? That's not where we're at. Right. Now, I wanted, before we run out of time here on this opinion of I don't know enough to have an opinion on that, and the tonality with which you do it. So my example on this, I suppose I'll make this slightly unidentified, but I think you can probably figure it out. One of the heads of one of the major AI platforms was on a high-profile podcast about a month ago, and there were a lot of pointed questions asked about the future of humanity, about all kinds of things. And one of the issues and problems there, we don't, by the way, always expect our highest technology, using this term lovingly, geeks, to necessarily sound like they are, persuasive broadcasters and that they are rhetoricians. Right. It's not what got them there. So you can have a lot of forgiveness for style. But what happens in this situation is that if the person being interviewed has trouble making eye contact with the person asking the questions, if when they're asked about like really pointed things about the dangers of what could happen with AI and this scenario or that and threats to humanity, if your answer is, I haven't really slept well for the last 2 years, which actually was one of the answers, you're not making me feel better about the world, right? Now, you could say that same thing as, since we launched the major launch of our product 2 years ago, I have been up late every night trying to think through all of the ramifications of this.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Same thing. One of those is, I don't quite know everything. I'm diligently seeking answers. I'm interested. I'm talking to experts. I think in this same interview, there was a question about something, and one of the answers was, it's kind of like, oh, there was a guy in our lunchroom who once kind of said this. You're like, apparently, maybe the things that could be most important to the future of civilization on this planet was sort of a phrase that was happenstance tossed around that you don't even sound like you're necessarily think is that profound, but you're holding on to it as the only answer you have right now, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just using this to say that all of us as leaders can really we should take this field note and say, have self-awareness. When do I not know enough to have an opinion? Don't be afraid to express that. Yeah. But you don't have to express that in a way that causes a lack of confidence in you or the organization or the future of the entire existence of the species.
Yeah. And it is that the way you broke it up, it made it seem like, okay, this is a style issue more than anything else. Right?
There's a bit. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So deploy this statement, but there is how it comes out of your mouth is important as well.
Now, was I? Do you think I was too unfair in my description there, or was that?
I didn't actually see the press conference that you're talking about.
Well, it was a one-on-one interview in a podcast.
Yeah. But in what you're saying, like anybody who answers, I haven't slept well in the last 2 years, is like, that's going to be like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but it's
right.
There's a mental health issue.
Right.
Here.
So that, but to underscore this as the takeaway from this field note, yes, if you are a leader who's like always like, yes, well, I know, and here's this, and here's the citation, and let me give you the examples. If you know everything about everything, this actually harms your credibility because we know you can't possibly know everything about everything.
Right.
And that there is a whole area of research around the things of this illusion of depth that leaders have. I can't remember. There's a particular name of it where you actually think you know, and so you dogmatically. I know a person that does this. They're like, oh, this is definitely the way, and then you're like, you don't even know. Like, I mean, I can tell that this is such a shallowly said firm statement, and it reduces your credibility. But be willing to say, not sure I have enough information to render a real opinion on this, but I'm really curious. I'm really interested. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's find out what other people have to say, and let's really wrestle with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That instead of pretending is always the best.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
You want the sneak peek for tomorrow? The topic will be, we don't always have these, but I have it. Team members who consistently misinterpret your directions. It'll be a fun one.
So are we talking about you or me? What's going on here?
We'll find out tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Bye.